The 8 books that I read in the last half of February. Hi guys, my name is Sharon and here we read books of all different genres, mainly thrillers. If that sounds like your thing, please like and subscribe. I've already posted a video of the 9 books I read in the first half of February. I will link to my previous video in case you're interested in watching. So I read a total of 17 books in the month of February. In the second half of February, I read 8 books, 3 thrillers, 3 cozy mysteries, 1 historical and 1 YA romance. I think I will group everything into the different genres. Timestamps below in the description. First, for the 3 thriller books that I read. First book, What Happened to Nina by Dervla McTiernan. This is a psychological suspense. This story centers around Nina, a teenage girl who's disappeared. She has a boyfriend called Simon who she's been with for quite a few years. They both go away for the weekend to Simon's family's cabin, which is in some remote location. His family are really wealthy. But after this weekend, only Simon returns home and he claims he doesn't know what happened to Nina. Simon's story doesn't add up, so Nina's parents launch a media campaign to find her, whilst Simon's parents are intent on protecting him. This was a really good audiobook. It had a full cast narration. You follow the perspectives from Nina's side of the family as well as Simon and his side of the family. You might be disappointed if you go into this thinking it's a fast-paced thriller, but it's really more of a slow suspense that kind of reads like a true crime documentary. It took me a little while to get into it at the beginning, and I will say there are no jaw-dropping plot twists, and it's more of an exploration of how far will parents go to protect their children. In this story you see how far Simon's parents will go to protect him, and you also see how far Nina's parents will go to find her. I initially gave this a 4-star, but then after finishing it, the more I thought about it, I was like, actually no, I think this is a 5-star for me. I also liked the ending. It was a really satisfying ending. Another thriller that I read, The Puppet Show by M.W. Craven. This is the first book in the Washington Poe series. We follow a detective named Washington Poe. He's been brought onto this case that the police can't solve. Bodies are being found burnt and unalived around the stone circles in the Lake District. He also gets paired up with someone called Tilly Bradshaw, who's a data analysis. She's basically this genius with an extremely high IQ, and it's not explicitly said, but it seems that she's neurodivergent. And honestly, she really made this book for me, possibly one of my new favourite fictional characters. This is a really dark police procedural thriller. The storyline was complex, twisty, and really clever. In fact, some parts were probably too clever for me and kind of went over my head. There's a small plot twist right at the beginning which hooks you straight in. I was a big fan of Washington Poe and Tilly Bradshaw. Tilly is so funny and endearing, and I really liked this unlikely pairing and the friendship they formed. This might be the best detective thriller I've read so far. The next thriller I read was Playing Nice by J.P. Delaney. This is a really fast-paced thriller. I'm being so distracted and put off by building works outside. I don't know if my mic's picking it up, but it's so noisy. You follow this couple who one day receive a knock on the door from a man they don't know, claiming that their sons were swapped at birth. This is obviously a really tricky and nightmarish situation for the parents. You follow the dad who opened the door for this man in present day, and you also follow the mum in a past timeline after she's given birth to her baby and the baby has to be rushed to the neonatal ICU. This was a wild ride. Just when I thought I knew where it was going, it took a different turn. It did give me a sense of dread whilst reading this. Not that I have a child, but I can imagine it's every parent's nightmare to be in this situation. I did think this was a really interesting and unique plot. I'm not sure how I feel about the ending though and the turn it took. It was quite unhinged. I then read some cozy mysteries, first one being Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. Vera Wong is a 60-year-old Chinese woman who owns a tea house in San Francisco's Chinatown. It's called Vera Wang's world famous tea house because she's hoping people will mistake her for the fashion designer Vera Wang. She also lives above her tea house, but then one morning she wakes up to find an unalived body downstairs in her tea house. She calls the police, but when they come, she feels like they're not very competent, as she just so happens to be quite lonely and bored, so she takes it upon herself to investigate them. There are a few people who come to her tea house the next day and they become her suspects. This book and Vera Wong were honestly so funny. I was giggling to myself, having the best time. This was lighthearted and charming, and it brought me so much joy. I wasn't feeling that great, so I wanted something a bit lighter that would pick up my mood, and this did exactly that. I've been sleeping on cozy mysteries, thinking that they weren't really my thing, but turns out I just needed to be in the mood for it, and I think I've entered my cozy mystery era now. Vera Wong is another new favourite fictional character. I loved everything from the storyline and characters to the cozy, delicious descriptions of all the Chinese food and teas. There's a found family trope in here as well, and I've decided that's one of my new favourite tropes. I really didn't expect to love this so much, but 5 stars. Also, definitely listen to the audiobook. The audiobook was so good. As I'm filming this, I have just finished the second Vera Wong book this morning. After this first Vera Wong book, I jumped straight into another cozy mystery. I read Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. Finlay Donovan is a struggling single mother who's really not having the best time right now. She can't afford to pay her bills, her ex-husband wants sole custody of their children, and he also undermines her job as an author. She's out for dinner one night with her agent, pitching her new thriller book idea, when a woman on the next table mistakes Finlay for a hit woman. She slips Finlay a note saying that if she helps this woman take out her husband, she will reward Finlay with $50,000. And it's very tempting because she really needs the money. Finlay then finds herself embroiled in a sticky situation which just spirals. Whilst this wasn't quite as cozy as Vera Wong, this one was really fun, chaotic and twisty. I missed the boat with this a few years ago when I saw so many people talk about this book, and again I just didn't think cozy mysteries were my thing. I liked the romance in this as well, and I also liked the friendship that Finlay strikes up with her babysitter slash sidekick Vero. I've barely read any cozy mysteries at this point, so I don't have much to compare this to, but I really liked this one as well. It was a solid 4 stars, and I am going to be continuing with the rest of the series. And for the third cozy mystery, I read Death by Dumpling by Vivien Chien. This is the first book in the A Noodle Shop mystery series. We follow the protagonist Lana Lee, who works for her family's noodle restaurant called Holy Noodle, which is in a plaza called Asia Village. This plaza is in a city, Cleveland, I think. So it's not in a small town, but you kind of get the small town, small community feeling because the majority of it is set in this plaza. If anyone knows Bang Bang, the Asian food court in North London, before that was Bang Bang, like years and years ago, it was this Asian plaza called Oriental City, and this is completely what I pictured when I was reading this book. But this plaza, Asia Village, has all these Asian shops like a karaoke bar, grocery store, salon, this noodle restaurant, a souvenir shop. Then one day the owner of the plaza is found unalived. He was unalived by some shrimp dumplings that he had from Lana's family's noodle restaurant, and everyone knows he had a severe allergy. So who was the culprit? A detective comes in to investigate this case, convinced that someone fed him these shrimp dumplings on purpose. And then Lana does her own digging as well. This was a quite fun read. I don't know if I'll be continuing with the rest of the series though, just because I have so much I want to read. I don't think this was quite as cozy as Vera Wong. I feel like that's my benchmark now for coziness and humour. But I still liked reading about the tight-knit community in this book. It was an easy and light-hearted read. And then for something not so light-hearted, I read Yellow Wife by Sadeqa Johnson. This is a historical fiction set in the mid-1800s. This story centres around a young black girl called Phoebe, who was born and lives on a plantation. Her mother is a slave and what they call a medicine woman. Phoebe's life is considered quite sheltered and somewhat privileged because her father is actually a white man and he's the owner of the plantation. And he has promised Phoebe that when she turns 18, she will be granted freedom. But of course, life could never be that easy for her, and after a series of unfortunate events, she gets sold to a jailhouse. And the owner of this jailhouse chooses Phoebe to be his mistress. This is a really harrowing story of survival. It's the kind of book that is upsetting but also makes you really angry seeing all the injustices and suffering. This story is fictional, but it is inspired by real life people, places, and events. It definitely wasn't an easy or an enjoyable read. It was dark, violent, and emotional, but we should never forget how Black people were and are still treated, and I think these kind of stories are still really important to read. And finally, the 8th book, Love Me Tomorrow by Emiko. This is a YA romance. You have Emma, a teenager whose parents are divorced and she's not sure she believes in true love anymore. She kind of sends this wish out to the universe, wanting proof that true love does exist and can last. Then one day she receives a note from the future from someone claiming to be her true love, but he can't reveal who he is. So for most of the story, you're following Emma in her day-to-day life, and she's basically trying to figure out who her future love is. There are a few different guys in her life, like her guy best friend, this really wealthy guy whose family house she cleans, and then her music mentor. If you know To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Hunt, this was very much that vibe. This was also a new release in February. I think this was actually a bit too young for me. When I jumped into this, I actually didn't realise it was a YA. I still do read YA, and I think a lot of YA books are for adults as well, but I think this was very much a YA book for young adults. This was cute and lighthearted. So those were all the 8 books that I read in the last half of February. Let me know if you've read or liked any of these. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.